So Rachel, let's start with not everybody is familiar with BNI. So
Sure.
why don't you give us like the big picture of what BNI is?
Yeah, so globally, BNI has nearly 10,000 chapters in 72 different countries with nearly actually over 250,000 members worldwide. And quite a few of our local members are folks on this call here today. And one of the things that makes BNI so unique is the universal nature of it. What we are dealing with is building referrals and relationships. And anyone, it does not matter what country you are in, what business you are in, what language you speak, your background, any of that, you want a referral, right? A warm, qualified introduction is way better than a cold call or getting a random lead from a website or something like that. Not to say those aren't important parts of marketing, but nothing feels better than someone calling you up or emailing you saying, hey Rachel, I got your name from Randy and you're the exact person I want to talk to you about my printing need. That feels so good. It feels so good. And so BNI is built around creating a structure through a team environment. We call our teams chapters, and we have 10,000 of these teams all over the world and about 30 of them in Chicago. And what we do is we meet weekly as part of our strategy. And each week our members come together and in a really open and honest way, they ask for help. And our philosophy is givers gain. So just as much as you're asking for help, you are there to listen to the other people around the room, or in this case, around Zoom, and find out how you can be the best helper as well. So if everyone's helping each other on their team, we're all going to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's the very broad overview of BNI.
I'll say my personal testament is that it's been almost 2 years since I joined, and it really changed my entire business. And I love BNI, and I love the people in my chapter, many of whom are on here right now. So what should we be doing differently now? We're
Sure.
meeting in Zoom. Like, how is this a different world now?
Yeah, so the founder of BNI, his name's Ivan Meisner, and he doesn't like to refer to this as like a lockdown or a quarantine. He's calling it the great pause, the great pause. And it's an opportunity for us to really take a step back, take a breather, and realize why we're passionate about what we do. So when you're in business for yourself, or even in sales, building a book of business, you're a little bit different than somebody who clocks in and clocks out at a job, right? You're passionate about what you do, or else you would just do something else, right? You got that freedom. And so right now is a time to really reconnect with that passion and that why, because that helps people understand your business better. And when people understand your business better, they become better referral partners. So my biggest piece of advice about what to do is it's not time to stop networking. You just have to do it differently. And one of the ways that you can do it differently is almost take it down. So scale it down. Right now, those 300-person networking events that you probably get the emails in your inbox for, and they're trying to woo you with a couple free drink tickets. That format does not work online. And I would even sound sacrilegious a little, but I will say, I don't think that format really works in real life either.
No,
In
but
fact,
I'll take the drink tickets usually.
sure. For me, most times when I go to one of those things, it's been the end of a long day. And I'm saying to myself, I would rather be on my couch with a glass of wine than be here pretending to be cheerful. So the problem with a lot of networking is that it gets confused. So people often confuse networking with prospecting. And when a lot of folks, myself included, when I first was growing my business, I would go to networking events and I would prospect, right? I would hope that I would leave with a client. And that is exactly the wrong attitude, because nobody is there to buy and everyone hates feeling sold to. Yet most people go to networking events to sell. So, right? You've got salespeople and other salespeople hoping to make sales and zero buyers in the room. This is precisely why people don't like networking events, why they feel awkward, why they feel uncomfortable, why you either get no follow-up from people or you just get a copy-paste email trying to pitch you something. It's because most people, when they go out networking, they confuse it with prospecting. So right now is a really good time to retrain that muscle and start thinking more about building relationships. So I always like to think about a eucalyptus tree, right? Bear with me here. So anyone who has spent any time in California is probably familiar with the concept of the Santa Ana winds, that these really, really strong wind gusts that come up kind of like March through October. And you will always see, if you're in that kind of California area and these winds pick up, what the news cameras love to do is find a photo op of a eucalyptus tree, because eucalyptus trees are not native to California, and therefore they're not properly acclimated And eucalyptus trees, if you've ever seen one, they are really wide at the bottom, but the roots are really shallow. And when the wind comes, it topples it over and it creates this really dramatic, uprooted tree image. And that's the problem with networks that are too wide. So when you're going out and you're doing this prospecting style networking, this more, collect more business cards, add more people on LinkedIn, Facebook, every single person you meet, you suddenly have all these people and no engagement. And when something like a pandemic like this comes along, that wind blows, your whole network will topple over. So instead of doing more, the idea is, and this is a big concept in BNI, is that you deepen each individual relationship. So instead of having 2,500 LinkedIn connections, you'd rather have 25 close personal relationships, people that you can really call on. And so, Randy, when's the time that I should share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to right now. If
okay,
you're
great.
ready.
So I'm just going to, little informal, share my screen. I won't go full screen or else I won't be able to see some of you. But I will share this screen and see my little graphic I've got up. So there's an anthropologist and his name is Robin Dunbar. And so I didn't make this up. This is a guy named Robin Dunbar. I just found it and I thought, you know what, this is very, I've got a little typo. So we'll go here. So Dunbar has a number and a theory that you can only mentally manage 150 relationships. You might say, well, that's impossible. I've got 500 friends on LinkedIn and I had 300 people at my wedding. But the reality is you can only actually mentally handle 150 relationships. And here's how it breaks down. So I want you to think about those first 5. These are your close relationships. They're probably people that you might be sheltered in place with right now. It's someone that you talk to daily. You check in with all the time. The minute you post something on social media, they're going to like it on Facebook and on Instagram. Like, these are your people. They absolutely have your back. They are your closest relationships, most likely family, close friends. And then as you expand out, you have 15, and this is what we call your clan, or what Robin Dunbar refers to as your clan. And your clan is unique because they're outside of your immediate group of close friends, but they are the type of people that you go to for comfort, for advice when things aren't going well, for sympathy. They're going to be the types of people that you are going to talk to possibly on a weekly basis. So those of you who are in BNI groups together, most of your power team are in your clan. So when I think about somebody like Mallory Carl, Dave Nelson, in your clan, you send him a lot of business, you talk to him once a week. Your real estate agent and mortgage person, like those are those very close weekly relationships where you're not only going to share your successes, but you're also going to open up about when you need some help. And I think something really unique I've noticed in the last few weeks as all this has been going on is that the clan, that number almost seems to be getting a little softer, right? It's getting a little bigger. More people are willing to reach out and deepen that. So this is not, perfect 5, 15, 50, 150. There's definitely some fluidity in those rings. And then as you extend out 50, this is your tribe. These are people you probably talk to once or twice a month. They're in your regular rotation of people you're keeping in touch with. These are the people that you're always going to celebrate your successes. Maybe you won't confide in them if something's not going well in your personal or business life, but they're the type of people that you will seek out when things are going well. Think about somebody who maybe passes you a referral here or there if someone explicitly asks, whereas someone in your clan would hear a need for a referral and go out of their way to proactively make that relationship. And then the final ring is 150. This really breaks down to acquaintances. So if we weren't sheltering in place, the way to tell an acquaintance is if you were at a grocery store or maybe having a drink at a bar and you bumped into someone in your 150, you would invite them to come sit and have a drink with you, or you would stop and chat with them for a few minutes. So who's not in your 150? Maybe a person you don't know very well. You only know them from being Facebook friends with them. I don't know if this has ever happened. You see somebody, checkout line. How do I know them? Oh gosh, I think we're Facebook friends. And you're like, I don't really want to talk to them right now. That person, not in your 150.
Yeah.
If you see them and you get excited and you're like, I haven't seen you in forever, let's catch up. They might, make their way into that permeable layer of your 150. And I think that's something so interesting right now is I'm seeing, at least in my life, some really big shifts about who is in each ring for me right now. And so what should we be doing right now? Focusing on the 150 people that you already know. This is not necessarily a time to go out and make a ton of new contacts. It's a time to deepen those roots to be, I'm trying to think, I should have thought of another tree, a tree that has nice deep roots. So you're not a eucalyptus tree, not a botanist. I don't know a lot about trees. But thinking about really focusing on those relationships and nurturing the ones that you have, and even evaluating maybe somebody who's in your 50 that you'd like to see in your 15. What is it going to take to help move them closer? And this is also a time to evaluate maybe people you need to move a little further away from you. So one thing that I did as I was really thinking deeply about Robin Dunbar and this whole number, this is something that struck me in the first few weeks of this shelter in place and all that, is I made a list. I made two lists, a list of 150 on one sheet of paper and a list of 150 on the other. And I started writing down personal and professional, right? 150 people on each list. And I thought, this is impossible. I'm going to be cutting people off the list. I'm not going to be able to ever get it down to 150. And I'll admit, around 75, 80, I started to struggle a little. Who's in my list? Who is somebody that I really feel like I need to make sure I water that relationship, I take care of that relationship? I think you'll be surprised when you go through. So it's a great activity, is taking a look, because I've heard, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And you hear that a lot in business. But what about 15 people? What about your tribe of 50? And what about those 150 people? So, you don't want to get too insular during this time, but it's also a really great time to focus in on nurturing relationships, because that safety net that you have of your network, it's going to be the thing that helps you excel when times are good in your business. And it's going to be the thing that saves you when business isn't going well. So I think I see some chats going.
Yeah, we get some people sharing their information, which is...
Oh, fabulous. Okay, great. So what do you do to get people kind of moving through those rings? Well, there's a book that I absolutely love. It's called The World's Best Known Marketing Secret. World's Best Known Marketing Secret. So how is it best known, but also secret? It's that the best way to do business is by referral. Everybody wants a referral. Nobody knows how to get them. And one of the great ways to get a referral is to build a strong network. And it's not a big network, it's a strong network. I think one thing that has really served me well in the last 10 years that I've been networking as part of my profession is just really taking time to hone in on individual relationships. So when someone calls me, I remember them, right? Instead of trying to meet maximum people, I really want to know the people in my network so that you can say, oh yeah, there's someone in my BNI chapter. They are, I'm trying to think of a good example in your group. They're the real estate attorney in my chapter. So what chapter are you in? Monday mornings at Ann Sather. Oh, well, that's S.J. Chapman, right? I really, really pride myself on being able to remember things about people, things that will help me in that relationship, things that will help me connect people together. That's so important when you're wanting to be a connector, is you have to know things about the people in your network. So these are the 5 categories that are in the book that I just referenced that really help you drill down and prioritize things you need to know about someone. So the first thing on my list is goals. Why is it important to know someone's goals? Because if you know someone's goals, you can help them. And when you help someone, you immediately bring them in closer to you. So if you are able to help someone, whether it is a professional help, like you pass them a client, or personal help, somebody is dealing with something, they need a referral somewhere, or they just need a hand. I've got a BNI member who I'm dropping a sewing machine off at her house tomorrow. She needed a sewing machine, and I happen to have an extra one. That help, it's just a little, because her goal is to make masks. So I was talking to her, what do you want to do during this time? She said, well, I really want to make masks, but I don't have a sewing machine. You got to ask people what their goals are, because if you can help or connect them to someone to help, you will be able to be so highly regarded when it comes to being in their circle. I bet I pulled myself in a couple rings further with her circle. The next one on my list is accomplishments. Why do you need to know someone's accomplishments? Well, they used to be a goal, and then they spent the time, they worked through it, and they accomplished that goal. So by knowing someone's accomplishments, you know what they value. You know what's important to them. So if I find out that one of your accomplishments is you're the first person in your family to get a college degree, I know education is really important to you. And perhaps I meet someone who's struggling right now because they're the only person in their family who's ever been to college. Well, now I can link you guys up, and they create this mentor-mentee relationship. The next one here, this is where people tend to stop when they're getting to know one another, is interests. We find common interests. It's human nature. We have fun talking about surprising things we have in common. And then that's as deep as our relationship ever gets. You will not get further than someone's 150 if all you know are some fun facts about them. You really got to know what their goals and accomplishments are. And then the last two, those are more for matchmaking, knowing someone's networks, whether it's formal, like BNI, belonging to a chamber, a parents organization, or informal. Maybe you help organize the block party in your neighborhood every year, or perhaps you're part of a cycling group or a running group. Those networks can help us refer across groups of people or get people set up for speaking engagements. And then the final one, skills. One thing I always ask people as I'm getting to know them is, do you speak any other languages? You would be shocked how often that comes up. Somebody needs something translated and it happens to be in Italian. Well, I ask every BNI member I meet what other languages they speak so I can keep track of who speaks Italian, who speaks Turkish, who speaks any number of other languages. I was just talking to a member yesterday who speaks fluent Japanese because he, in a previous life, was a business person who dealt exclusively in Japanese products. Great, amazing. And now he's visiting BNI chapters in Japan. So these are the 5 things that you got to know about people. And the more you know in each category, the deeper you go into your Dunbar ring. So that's my piece of advice during this time, is to think about, make a list of those people. If you're having a hard time thinking about it, go through your cell phone. Just scroll through your contacts and think about that person you haven't called, you haven't talked to in a while. If you've got more than 150 contacts in your phone, here's how you tell if they're outside of the ring. If you aren't willing to text them right now, hey, how's it going? They are not even an acquaintance of yours. They're just somebody you know.
So I want to wrap up in a second, but I do have one final question for you. So you told us up front, 30 chapters, 600-ish members.
Sure.
And you do know all of those people. I'm always amazed by that. But so how, but obviously that's more than 150. What do people need to do if they want to find a way to get closer to somebody like you who is very well connected and has a bigger ring? I'm not encouraging people to start stalking you, but I'm using an example. What can we do to get notice, to get in closer into people?
So I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but the older you get, the harder it is to make friends, at least for me. It was really easy in high school and college. And then as you become an adult, it gets a little harder. You meet a friend through another friend. How do you get that person's phone number? Now I guess you follow them on Instagram. It's kind of like that. You build that relationship organically. And I think it really comes down to that. For example, I separated out my list into business and personal. There are some people that I really love working with professionally, but we're just probably not going to be close personal friends for whatever number of reasons. And then vice versa. I have friends that I adore that I would never, ever, I wouldn't even want them to order their business cards to me because I know how difficult they are. You don't, on one hand, I certainly do end up mixing my business and personal relationships. It's hard not to, but on the other, it's not completely exclusive. So I would say if you're finding someone that you want to connect with, start with a conversation. Hey, listen, I'd really like to get to know you better. I'd like to hear what some of your goals are coming up, or maybe that someone has accomplished a goal that you already have. Like I was sharing with Randy that I've had this idea for a book and I've got an outline. And when I get a little more serious about it, I might ask Randy, hey, do you know other people who have written business books? Because I would love to have a conversation. And then
let me take that opportunity to share my screen if that's all right, because I do want to tease the upcoming coffee breaks that we have, including one that is specifically about how to get started on your book idea. And so these are the next 3 that are coming up in May. If anybody else is looking to join, I always keep the list on my Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on my blog at firststorystrategies.com. So if other people are in that same situation, ready to get started on their book, come here, Danielle, in a couple of weeks on that same thing. So before we go, I thank you very much, Rachel. That was so helpful. And I know that we didn't have much time, but you packed in so much information, and that was a huge help. So thank you very much. And I do want to mention that Krista said in the chat that she has lots of masks and is looking to donate them downtown in Chicago. If you know somebody taking bulk donations, you might want to hit her up right now before we wrap up. So thank you again, Rachel. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hope you'll come join us again.